And with us right now is Bert Baum. He is the board secretary for Third Mutual. Nice to see you, sir. Today
Nice to
we're
see
going to
you.
talk about a couple different things.
Yes.
That one of them really has been sort of on the forefront lately, and that's, of course, the dog park. And the
Right.
reason that you're here to talk about it is because Third is directly involved.
Yes, that's very true. We've had people come before at our last board meeting talking about it, very concerned. The message I really want to get across to everyone in Third and in the community is that our board is not anti-dog. Some of our best friends are dogs. So we are very cognizant of the problems, and I just want to indicate and say to all the dog owners out there, we heard you, okay? And we're working, the board is working very diligently with Brad Hudson, the CEO of our management company, with the GRF board, and with the city to resolve this situation. And we're very optimistic about it. We think we're close to a solution that will keep the park open, but will also take care of the problems that our Third residents who are living adjacent to the park are having. So stay tuned.
Okay, very good. Now you want to talk about leasing, am I right?
Right.
And this was brought up during your meeting on Friday. You had the special board meeting, and you're going to elaborate.
Okay. Here again, there's been a lot of confusion. We've had a lot of challenges. We had it at the board meeting about the lease policy.
Right.
Here again, I think we have some good news for the people. I want to start off by giving you the big news up front. After talking with our lawyer, we had a meeting with the whole board where we went over this new policy.
Right.
And it's only 3 months old. And when we instituted it with the idea that we're going to see how this policy works, and if there are any changes or modifications needed, we were going to do that.
Right.
So we've had some challenges on this policy, and the main challenge has been about our requirement for criminal background checks and for credit scores.
Right.
Okay. And we feel that is reasonable, and our lawyer feels that these are reasonable requirements. But this has created a lot of confusion and a lot of difficulty for the residents and for our staff. So we want to move on, and we decided that we are going to eliminate those two requirements. So until we can get the new policy passed, and it has to go through the board, and there's a 30-day waiting period, we are essentially suspending this requirement.
Okay.
And you can get a 60-day extension without doing any of this. So we want the people out there to relax. We heard you. We're going to work with you. We do not consider renters second-class citizens, and this has come up. But what we would recommend for the landlords is that they do these checks. They can do them on their own. It's not difficult. And we can give you information so you can do this on your own. You can go to the web. There are websites where you can do it. It doesn't cost very much money, and you can get the answer in a few minutes.
Okay.
But that's up to the landlord to do, and it's for his protection as well as for the community. So that's why we instituted it to begin with. But all the other requirements in the lease stay the same, essentially. So there are not going to be any big changes. And I think it's really important for people living in Third Mutual to understand what some of these requirements are. And I want to go over some of the major provisions. We've talked about this policy, this new policy, for a long time before we instituted it, incidentally. I've talked on this program
Right.
about it with you. We've had articles in the Breeze. So the idea that this has come from out of nowhere is not right. And part of the responsibility for the citizens, for our residents, is to be aware of what's going on, and we are trying to communicate that as best we can. And we know we have to do even better, and we're working on that. But in terms of the major provisions, you cannot rent out your manor for less than 60 days.
Okay.
Okay, that's the bottom line. And we are requiring that you renew your application every year. And as part of that, you have to submit the lease. So we are aware of who is living in your manor. And when you rent out your manor, you have to leave. And the renter or the lessee takes over. Okay, so you are essentially exchanging your rights to the manor for this period with the renter.
Okay.
And he's entitled, or she, to use the amenities. Now, this has become another issue because
Right.
GRF is considering instituting this tiered fee system. Let me tell everyone, we have nothing to do with that. This is not a plot to harm any renters here. I came to this community as a renter. I rented over a period, my wife and I, of 8 years
Right.
before we bought. We've been living here about 20 years now.
Yeah.
So this is not a plot. We are not trying to make life more difficult for the renters. We're trying to make life better for everyone living here. So there's a 60-day requirement.
Okay.
And if you rent the manor, you have to rent the whole manor. You can't rent a room. And someone who leases can't rent out rooms. There's no subleasing
Right.
in third. And there's some confusion between what we are requiring in Third Mutual, where people live in condos, versus people who live in United, where
Right.
this is a co-op. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand this difference. You know, when we go out, we speak to residents, we will ask them, well, where do you live? Are you a co-op or a condo? And we kind of get a blank look. They're not aware of,
Right.
of these differences. So very simply, if you live in Third, you have bought a condo. You get a title and you own that property. And you are responsible essentially from the wallpaper in.
Right.
And the mutual is responsible for the external and the structure and the common area. So under that situation, you cannot sublease. In a United, you do not get a deed. You get a stock certificate. You become part of the co-op, and you are given certain space to live in. But United actually owns that.
Right.
They are the owners. So that when you essentially buy into United, you are actually a lessee. And when you lease your manor, should you lease your manor, then the person you are subleasing it. And that makes a big difference in terms of how United deals with their owners and how we do, and particularly when they become landlords or lessors.
Okay.
And I hope I haven't confused everyone with that explanation, but that's something important to understand. And then in Third, our relationship is with the owner, not with the renter. So that, and the owner is responsible for what the renter does. If the renter commits any types of abuses, then we will go after the owner.
Right.
The owner is responsible, and this goes for everybody living in Third. You are responsible for anything, any person that you have a dealing with that you invite into the community or that lives with you.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you have a guest,
Yep.
and the guest commits some violation, you're responsible.
Right.
People don't understand that, but that's really important. So if a renter commits abuses, and unfortunately that's happened, then we go after the owner. And the owner cannot have the excuse that he did not know what his renter was doing, because that's part of his responsibility too. So that's an important consideration. Now, on the other hand, in fact, this just happened before I came in here, we have residents who telling me, oh, we have all these renters and they're creating all these abuses. Well, that may go on. We understand that. That's one of the reasons we devised and worked on this new policy. And I have to point out that we worked on this policy for about a year, and we did it in open meetings. I'm chairman of the Residency and Compliance Task Force, and these meetings were done in the open. Residents could come and sit in it and see what we were doing.
Right.
So it was not a surprise. But if there are violations, there are abuses, and there are, and they vary. They can vary anywhere from clutter to noise to smoking. You can report that to compliance. And I've mentioned this before. And we've asked our residents to do that, because although we have a very good security force now, and they've been merged with our compliance department, they're all now under security, and they have special security people who investigate abuses. We depend on the residents to point these out to us. And you can do this by filling out a form that you can get downstairs at the desk in the community service building, or you can also call the compliance hotline, 268-CALL, C-A-L-L.
Okay.
Okay? And you can do this anonymously. Well, what happens after that? Well, they will receive a warning letter. And if this abuse continues, they will be brought into a hearing in front of the board or certain board members. And a decision is made whether they are guilty of a violation, and they are fined. And fines can start at $500, but we want to tell you that when these abuses continue, the fines continue and they escalate.
Okay.
And we have had people in the community who have run up fines in the thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And we have collected them. We are going after them. You are responsible for the manor. You are responsible for the people who live there. And we understand some of the anguish of some of the residents who are living near, particularly in the three-story buildings, who are living near renters who are abusing the privilege of living here. And our goal is, as I said before, is to make this a pleasant, livable community where you can enjoy your retirement.
All right, very good. And as you said in your meeting on Friday, that because of the way the dates are, this has the 30-day, it's actually a little bit longer than that, notification on these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
I'm sorry.
And I, just so people know that, they can still comment on this.
Yes, yes.
Although some of that was unfinished business and it
Okay,
was went through.
when we bring up this new revised,
Right,
and
the
it's not going to be
revised part,
extensively revised policy, it will follow the usual
Right.
procedure. It will be brought before the board will vote on it, and then there is a 30-day, as you mentioned, period in which residents can make comments on it, and then it's voted upon again. And at that point, we can make some changes
Right.
if necessary. And it will be reported in the breeze. I wanted to say a word about the Breeze. I'm editor of the Thirds part of the Breeze.
Okay.
And everyone is entitled to get this free. There are hard copies available at the various clubhouses and the community center, but you can get it online. And most people do get it, but we also ask you to read it, because there are, we try to cover all the key issues, and we have
Right.
covered leasing in there too.
Yeah, you can sign up for that.
Yes.
It'll be emailed to you.
Can I say one thing
Sure.
about landscape?
Sure.
We have had a lot of comments about landscape in the community. We know that it has been a problem. There is an article here in the latest Breeze where we talk about a fresh approach in the landscape division. And it's about Bruce Hartley, who's now taking over that responsibility, and what he wants to do. And we realized there were problems out here, but he has told us that he will, he's working on fixing them. He has some really good ideas. He has a good background in it, and that you should start seeing changes within this month. So we ask people to be a little more patient. If
Okay.
you still have problems, let us know. We will work on it. We will fix the landscaping.
All right, very good. Bert, always good to see you.
Nice to see
We
you.
appreciate you being here today, and
thank
we'll
you.
see somebody from Third next week. I know you were filling in for someone today, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Annette.
Good of you.
Okay, and I want to tell people, keep cool out there. Make sure you're hydrated. It's
Yes.
a hot day.
It will be. All right, we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Yeah.